Well, a very good evening, everybody, and welcome to Delta T Racing Thursday night. So it is time for Division 5. Welcome back again. Obviously, following on from last week, we had the sprint race at Silverstone. We are coming live this week from Portimao in Portugal, round number 9. So we are now at the three-quarter stage of the season. Once this is completed, 3 races left. Hungary, a sprint race in Canada, and then Circuit of the Americas for the finale. So let's get some details up and wait for the cars to go out on track. I think first maybe Kudor. Yep, Krudor, who we are on board with anyway. So let's just jump on with him on his warm-up lap, and whilst we do, we'll bring up the current driver standings. Hans Buhr currently leading, 24-point lead over Cernikov. Hans isn't here tonight. I believe he's watching a football match, so I hope you enjoy that. It'd be good to have you back next week. Third place is Krudor, moving up 3 places with a win last week at Silverstone on 85 points. Joint with Havoc Connor, also on 85 points. I think he's feeling a bit more confident this week, got a bit more practice in, so hopefully he will be able to regain that 3rd place or even better up into 2nd. Prize Phantom in 5th on 81 points, has found an awful lot of pace recently. Probably one of the fastest drivers in Division 5. But just needs to find that little bit of patience and won't be involved in those incidents. And I think the wins will come easily for him, and I can see him catapulting his way up the divisions. But I think it all comes with experience. But we are now coming round the final corner for Krudor to start his first timed lap of round number 9. So obviously last week's race winner. So finding a bit of form coming into the closing stages of the season. So you're looking at the chat, Hans is actually in the chat. So good evening, Hans, good that you're watching. So I'd rather be watching you out here racing as well, but fingers crossed you'll be back for next week. So anyway, Krudor now coming, whereabouts are we on the track? Turn number 7, aren't we, on to turn number 8, which I believe is called Samsung. And turn number 9, just at the bottom of the hill here, then turning left up Craig Jones into 10 and 11, which is the Portimao complex. Turns 12 and 13. Into the final. Well, it's not really the final turn. It's the penultimate is turn number 14, and then obviously 15 coming up. Onto the start-finish line to set his first time of the day. 1:19.798, not a bad time. Behind we have Ralph, the 19.496, so immediately takes that time, and Prize there popping 0.3 quicker with a 19.16. Who is next? I think it's MBB crossing the start finish line. Skipper is on that. Right, let's try and find somebody who is on the end of the lap. We've got Scenic just about to set a time. 19.635. Popping up in the 4th place at the moment out of 5, still early days. Havoc crossing the line at 18.472. Now that's stamping your authority a bit. 0.7 of a second quicker than Prize in second. As I say, Havoc is feeling a little bit more confident today. Had a couple of good practice races. Okay, Jurek is on his outlap, so who's going to be next to cross the line? Is it Composite or Skipper? It's going to be Skipper. Pops in a 19.8, so 8th place for Skipper there. MBB now on to his fast lap. So we've got a bit of teamwork going on with the Haas. Were they giving each other a bit of a tow there? Maybe not. Baldi currently in 3rd with a 19.368. Peter Pirate popping into the pits, not setting a time as of yet. Prize Phantom. So just getting a couple of laps in, I think, just getting the tempo. Who is next? Kieran's about to start a lap. Do we have anybody coming to the end? It's either Skipper or Composite. Will be coming into pits. Chef JB, jump on with him just across the line, 19.328. So jumps up into 3rd place. So we're pretty tightly packed, other than Connor, who has, well, he's quite a way ahead at the moment. But then we have Prize on a 19.1, then less than, well, 7/10 of a second, separating everybody that's got a time so far. Durek there up with a 19.471 into 5th place. MBB, I think, is next because he's validated. So we'll be going again. Baldi's into the pits now. Composite Skipper will come into the pits as well. Surely Price has the pit now. Yeah. Come in, get a fresh set of tyres on. Kieran now, fellow commentator, has been covering Division 3 for us. Is it 3 or Division 2? Division 2, apologies. Doing a very good job, so thank you to him. Always a good one to listen back to. So Kieran not having the ideal line through that chicane or through there. I think that's ruined. Yeah, he's backing off. So that is him done for the moment. Jurek is on a slow down lap coming into the pits. Crudor, as a race winner last time out, coming to start his outlap. How's MBB getting on? Invalidated again, so still not to set a lap time yet. Pete's on an outlap and is invalidated there. I think that's also, yeah. Also got him for his next lap as well. It's cruel sometimes, that corner, because it can invalidate your current and your next lap. Kieran, let's go back to Kieran. Coming around now, I think Price just in front of him. Yep, so we'll jump on with him, see if he can close that gap. Kieran actually up into 2nd with an 18.875. Completely missed that one, Kieran, but a cracking lap there. We have a yellow in Sector 1. Why do we have a yellow in Sector 1? I think it might have been Skipper, but not 100% sure. Okay, double. He is on a lap. I think Dr. Scenic's going to be the next to actually cross the line first. I say first, still 8.5 minutes left of qualifying, so we're still early doors on it. But there's Dr. Scenic there. Crudor actually popping into 2nd place with an 18.613, so they are creeping up on Connor. But Connor now on an outlap will be looking at improving on his current time if he can. How's Price getting on? Coming through to the last corner. Oh, he's abandoned that one by the looks of it. Oh, it was his outlap, sorry, my apologies. No. Price will be looking at closing that gap. 7/10 currently between himself and Havoc. Connor does like to pick up pole position, Price, so I do expect him to go a lot faster than that. I think he may have been a bit cautious. Who's next? Dr. Scenic to cross the line. Not anything to write home about there. So, but Prize, we'll keep on with him, see what his time is. Purple first sector. Turn number 8. Wait and see what his split is, which is coming up now. He's 7/10 up on his time at the moment, which would be good enough for provisional pole position. But obviously Havoc out on a lap now as well, so he'll be looking at improving on his opening time. Stay on board the Prize as he comes round the last corner. What can he pop this down to? Is going to be a low 18.349, so does indeed take provisional pole position. So a good lap there from Phantom. So what has Havoc got in the bank? Nothing on this lap because he has invalidated. MBB just about to start a hot lap. Who do we have behind him? So just pitting. So Havoc has invalidated on that lap anyway. Because I'm backing off, saving a bit of BRS there and going again. But he's going to go again now anyway, sort of 50% ERS. Going to find he's going to get a bit low towards the end of the lap. Chef JB 7th place there, 19.288. Who is coming around next? Composite into the pits. Jurek. That's his pretty slow lap there. Next we are looking at, I think it's Dr. C. No, is it Price? Yeah, so Price will dip into the pits now, put himself a fresh set of softs on and look for an improvement on the final run of the day. MBB really could do with putting a lap in here, and he does 19.277, so pops himself from 14th up to 7th place there. Okay, who are we on next with? Havoc. Now, is he on a second hot lap, or is he backing off to come into the pits? I think he's backed off, yeah. So he's aborted that one, will come in, put a fresh set of softs on and go again. Chef JB also coming into the pits. Jurek, I expect, will do the same. Just likes to prove me wrong. And pops in a 19.0, so pops himself up into 7th, knocking MBB back down into 8th. BB now coming round the final sector. I think you're probably going to pop into the pits now, as I say, put that fresh set of tyres on. He does indeed. Who's that just behind him? Is it Double? He is on an out lap, so this will be, well, I'd say his last attempt. He could probably get 2 flyers out of it, but his ERS is going to struggle, and obviously tyre degradation as well. So Double about to start his lap. I think Jurek is where he's invalidated, so is he trying to get back to the pits? Still got time, come in, put a fresh set of softs on. They've got a few on their out laps now. They're trying to get their final runs in. The Jurek will be coming into the pits. Who's going to be first? I think Pete the Pirate is going to go on to his lap now. I'm just trying to remember who the first one out was. I think it was Double, wasn't it? Oh, it was a apt time to jump on board with him. So on the double. Okay, so we have Pete has invalidated Prize, now starting. Probably his final lap of qualifying here, so he'll want to nail this, try and improve on that 18.349 if he can. Keeping an eye on Crudor because he's got a lot of base that he hasn't invalidated, so got away with that one, although I think it's going to cost him quite a bit of time. Price has backed off. He was up on the time there, but he obviously made perhaps a small mistake. He's backed off, ready to give it another go. Crudor has aborted and will come into the pits. Whether he'll have time to go out on another run, I'm not 100% sure. I think he might do if he's very quick. There's only a minute and a half left, so I think that is him done for the day. Okay, so who was the furthest round? So Prize obviously has aborted that. Saves an ERS, he'll be going again. So MBB I think is going to be next to cross the line. Will not be an improvement. Okay, these are going on to their final runs now, aren't they? So Connor the same, he'll be just starting his final run. Jumping Baldy just on these last couple of laps. I often miss Baldy, I don't give him the TV time that he is due. Obviously doing a great job as coordinator. And what time can he pop in here? 18.7 up into 5th place, so a cracking final lap there by Baldy. Kieran aborting his, coming into the pits. Who do we have next? Is it Skipper or Composite? Composite aborting his as well, so they will not be improving on their time. Phantom now I think also has, yeah, he's given up. He's not going to improve on his time. Connor, he won't be improving either. Skipper, so Skipper realistically I think the only person that could take pole away, but Andy Jurek as well is putting a lap. Commentators curse every time I go to someone, they're spinning today. Already coming through, be faced with the McLaren off track in a minute. Don't really join unsafe with the 2 cars back there. So anyway, Jurek will come across to sure that was the pit entry there, Skipper. I think you came in a little bit early, but that brings to close qualifying for the Portuguese Grand Prix. So Prize Phantom taking pole position with an 18.349, Havoc Connor second with an 18.472. The benchmark that he set very, very early, wasn't able to beat it himself. I think more down to invalidation. Had the pace there, but he will certainly be a force to be reckoned with in the race. Chef JB taking 3rd place in the AlphaTauri. Obviously his teammate Nerdy unavailable this week, but hopefully we'll be back for next week's race. So we're just waiting for it to time down, and then we will have the official grid for feature race, 33 laps. So let's have a look. Prize Phantom taking the pole position again. Took it last week as well. Havoc Connor having a much better qualifying session in second place. Chef JB in third. Skipper fourth. Fifth, Crudor in sixth. BB Bowdy seventh. Ralph didn't see much of Ralph in that, but snuck his way up into seventh. Kieran with a solid eighth place. Jurek in ninth. Dr. Scenic in 10th. MBB 11th. 12th. Composite 13th. Double 14th was Pete the Pirate. Well, welcome back everybody, and as you can see, it is chucking it down. Wasn't expecting this at all. I haven't been reading the chat, so I don't know if anyone was kind enough to tell me. Oh, they did. Prize actually told me that it was a wet race, and I didn't take any notice of that at all. So, right, okay. Well, this changes things completely then. This track is pretty difficult on traction at the best of times in the dry. In the wet, it's a little bit worse, but we will see. We'll see what the race brings for us, but it's certainly a bit more excitement than I was expecting. So let's just get some details up. So we are ready for the start. So right, let's have a quick look. I'm assuming everybody is on wets. Yeah, so it's wet enough. So are we gonna get a wet dry race, or is it going to be completely wet? Ralph and Kieran unfortunately disqualified there, so they'll be starting with very cold tyres. Difficult enough to get heat into the wets, and obviously they're going to be starting on the back foot there. Let's have a look, see if there's any statistics. Does look like it's going to be very wet pretty much all the way through. I think the rain's going to lighten ever so slightly but then get heavier again, so I think this is going to be another wet race for poor old Division 5. As I say, they were blighted by it last season. Seems every single race they had some kind of wet session, whether it was qualifying, whether it was a sprint race or a feature race, and looks like they've been cursed with it again this season. But hopefully it won't detract for some good racing. I'm sure we're going to see a few spins and some incidents. Hopefully nothing too bad. But you never can tell in wet conditions. Reliot joining us in the chat as well. Good evening, Reliot. Good to have you here. Yeah, it's going to be an eventful start. Certainly, I think the first 3 to 4 turns are going to be, yeah, well, we'll see. We will see. But just waiting for everybody now to line up. Who are we waiting on at the back there? Is Peter Pirate will be the last to take his place on the grid, which he does just there, hits his mark. So we are back to the start of the grid. So Prize Phantom on pole position, Havoc just on the inside of him. really is a terrible camera angle from here. So we're 4, 5 red lights. Lights are out and we are underway for the Portuguese Grand Prix. Prize Phantom seems to have a really good start there. Havoc not so good. Chef JB getting round him on the outside. In fact, Havoc having a dreadful start, being swamped in the middle there. Chef JB, Jurek, Ralph and Skipper all moving their way up. Looking back, there doesn't seem to have been, I say, any real incidents, but I'm just looking at Havoc Connor a little bit further back. 3.5 seconds back. So on board now. Oh, a little bit of a contact there by Kieran. It's a little bit late on the brakes in the wet. Into the back, MBB up into 6th place. So let's jump back to the front and see what's going on. So double and Havoc Connor changing positions there. So Havoc, we know he has the pace, but he's got it all in front of him now to try and get his way back up to these leaders. And Prize, yep, Prize currently with nearly a second lead. Just pulling that out just a bit, and then we've got a 1.5 seconds between Jurek in 2nd place and Chef JB. So Jurek up 7 places at the start. What a rocket from him. Everybody else not too bad. Ralph up 3 as well. MBB up 5. We've got Crudo and Baldy down a couple of places. Biggest loser was obviously Havoc, who has dropped down. Jurek is out after just saying how well he's done. Jurek is out, and it looks like he has been caught off of the final turn and shot off to the right. So, oh, Jurek, it was looking so well, up 7 positions in 2nd place, looking quite handy there, and we are, we have the safety car out now. Or is it just a virtual safety car? I think it's just virtual safety car. Yep, so virtual safety car. Just can't see any notification of that, but certainly no safety car out on track. So everybody drops to the same delta. Basically, a representation is if you put 2 cars on a Scalextric's track on the same track, they would go at the same speed and keep the gap the same. That is the idea of the virtual safety car. Obviously, it doesn't quite work that way. Some people are very cautious, others are very daring on the edge, and we are back underway racing again. So let's jump back to where we've got a bit of battling going on. So Crudo again, we know he has the pace. Havoc, keep an eye on him because I think he will be siding his way back up through the field in a bit. But looks like Crudor is going to make a move on the inside of MBB. Is he going to stay on the brakes? No, he backs out probably sensibly on that one. MBB alternatively looking for a move on Skipper, gets a little bit of oversteer there, could make him susceptible to Crudor behind, but looks like Skipper slowed them up ever so slightly going into there. Just being a little bit more cautious on those wet tyres. Kieran looking for a move up the inside of Baldy as well. Baldy giving him space there, fair due to him, just in case Kieran did go for the move. But Kieran thinking better of it under this, on this occasion. See who is likely to make a move first. I think Havoc will soon be looking to make a move on Peter Pirate, less than half a second behind. Obviously no DRS unfortunately to aid them, so it is all down to getting a decent traction and your ERS. MBB and Crudor battling away in front here. Crudor getting the better line there. MBB getting a little bit of oversteer. Oh, he's run out wide. Will Crudor still be in the line? Looking further back, we have Kieran Trollface and Baldy going for it. We do have a move into turn one. And MBB holds it round the outside. Good defending from him. I think Crudor possibly could have made the move, but just wanted to hold it back ever so slightly. Didn't want to make contact, certainly in the early stages of the race. Kieran makes his way past Baldy now. I think that was coming. The Williams driver looking to have a bit more pace than the cars in front of him and less brakes as well, but luckily avoiding any collision there. Havoc now moving his way up past Pete, so not a good lap for the Haas drivers there, both losing a position. Dr. Scenic having a bit of trouble, picking up a 10-second penalty there for corner cutting. So jump back to this battle going on. The out front prize looking quite comfortable, the 2.5 second gap at the moment. Ralph in third place, so up 4 places at the start, currently in podium position, further 5 seconds back. And then we have this big train that has formed, so for third place basically Ralph all the way down to pretty much Pete the Pirate in 10th. And we have 8 cars that are battling for that podium. MBB losing the place there to Crudor, so they do seem to be exchanging places. Oh, and a good drive there by put my teeth back in there by MBB. Looking to make the move on Crudor. They are side by side going round. And MBB does make the move, so up in the 5th place for the Mercedes driver. Crudor now down into 6th, but Skipper also holding his own in 4th. Just losing touch a little bit there with Ralph. Ralph just extending that gap out to a second, but Skipper himself having a second go. Oh, MBB just messing up that corner there. We'll drop a little bit further back and put him susceptible to Crudor. Ooh, bit of a snap there from MBB in front. Manages to keep it, but it is going to make him slow on pace here. I think Crudor is going to get the better drive, whether he will look at going for an overtake. I think he will. He's got so much more speed here, but ERS engaged. I completely missed that because I went in the wrong direction. So Crudor is indeed past MBB down the start finish line. A purple first sector from Crudor, so he is now on the charge. Pete the Pirate past his teammate Baldy there. Whether that was team orders or not, I'm not 100% sure. Connor fought his way back up into it. Dr. Scenic is out as well. Did I miss that one? Durek calls the safety car. I missed Dr. Scenic there. Hope it wasn't a retirement in the pits. I didn't see him out on track, but that doesn't mean it. Oh my Jesus, anything. Havoc there. Making the move on Kieran, so up into 7th there. I don't think Havoc was expecting to make that move. I think it was one of those where the door just opened and And he was through. So we now have the Mercedes drivers in 6th and 7th. Crudor is now past Skipper, so Skipper dropping back into 5th place. And he's now got MBB for company behind him. So Skipper very cautious on the throttle going through that corner there. I don't think he has any trust in that setup at all. But MBB looking for a move around the outside, probably not the best place to do it, certainly in the wet. Just putting Skipper under that bit of pressure now, seeing if he can force that mistake. MBB himself going just slightly wide there, but not sure if he picked up a warning, but we haven't had any penalties as of yet. We'll get rid of that because we don't actually need that at the moment. Everybody's still on the wet tyres. Crudor now all over the back of Ralph. Again, Ralph being very cautious on the throttle there, just coming through the final bend. Crudor has the pace here with the ERS, but obviously Ralph will be defending for all his life with his ERS as well. And they both run wide, they're making up their own racetrack here. It's always good to see adaptations. Kieran certainly hasn't given up since Connor got past him. It wasn't a matter of thank you very much, off you go. Looking up the inside, I think it's more just to give himself a clear view than actually go for the overtake. Bowdy picking up a time penalty there, so after saying no one's got any, they Haas drivers, they do like to prove me wrong, so they're both picking themselves up a penalty. Who did we have had it? Oh, I think that was Dr. Scenic, had the 10-second penalty earlier as well. Obviously out of the race now. Crudor back all over the back of Ralph. Just needs to get a decent drive out of this corner, which he always does, and then it seems to be Ralph just seems a little bit more cautious on this right-hander here, just eases off the throttle slightly. Oh, it's a good drive around the outside by Crudor there. Good move. So Crudor now up into 3rd place. I think he learnt from the first couple of attempts there that Skipper liked to hug the line, but obviously came off the throttle to do so, and then he just floored it around the outside, kept himself going there. Obviously a lot happier with his setup compared to Ralph, but yep, Crudor up into 3rd place. We'll see if he can start chipping away at Chef JB now in 2nd place in the AlphaTauri. Kieran and Havoc are exchanging positions again. It looks like down into the turn 5 hairpin, but Havoc back in front now, still chasing down his teammate in front, but the gap was over a second. It's now, as you can see, next to nothing. I wonder if it will be long before MBB lets his teammate through. Not sure if they have that kind of relationship or not, but I certainly think Havoc having the better pace at the moment would be wise to let your teammate through and almost try and carve a gap for yourself to go through afterwards. But as I say, not sure what kind of relationship they have. Price Phantom popping in the fastest lap of the race. I haven't mentioned him too much in the race. Obviously qualifying I was following him, but in the race he's just disappeared. 6.2 seconds clear of Chef JB now. Crudor does seem to be chipping away at that gap to Chef, so we will see if he can bring that down enough to fight for second. But I think barring any form of mistake, Price has this one pretty much in the bag. Still a long way to go, 23 laps. Obviously no pit stops yet. I'm not sure if anyone will do the no stop on the wet tyres. I'm not sure of degradation here. I think it might be a bit too much, so we're certainly looking at a one stop. Whether anybody is going to try the inters, I'm not sure. I don't think the rain's going to ease off enough. So we have a nice cluster of cars here from 5th. So we've got Skipper MBB, Havoc, Kieran Trollface, Peter Pirate in 9th. So yeah, 5th down to 9th. All pretty close to each other. A few penalties now rolling in double, and Kieran Trollface picking up penalties. I think that is Havoc going past you. No, his teammates not letting him have it, is it? Certainly not playing the team game here. Kieran looking for a move up the inside. Don't make any contact there. It's so easy. I got caught up with Cassell yesterday in my race, and the car just literally locked into his. I couldn't get off him. Right, so MBB all over the back of Skipper now. So Crudor has got that gap down to 3.5 seconds. So closed over a second over the last sort of lap and a half. Drivers left in the race, 14 able to make it today. Seem to have struggled a bit with attendances over the last couple of weeks, but hopefully that will be better next week and we'll start getting full grids back. So Havoc lining up a move on his teammate again. Will his teammate be just as defensive this time around? Or Havoc having much better drive there, but having to ease off so as not to hit the back of his teammate. But I certainly don't think his teammate's going to make it easy for him. No, he's going very defensive. So yeah, I would kind of take it these guys probably aren't in a chat together. Okay, so I mean it's nice and close battling, but there's not a great deal to talk about. No one really seems to be going for any moves. The gaps are pretty stable at the moment. Next gap at the front is starting to come down a bit between Prize and Chef. Not sure if Prize has made a small mistake or... Yeah, I think it must have been a mistake. I mean, straight away he's got the gap back up to sort of 6 seconds again. So I think he might have had a small... Havoc looking at closing again on his teammate. That's where communication can be key. Personally, I would be looking at letting Havoc pass and having a go at Skipper, obviously trying to unsettle him when he makes the move, and then making the move yourself. You've been stuck behind him for so long, unable to find a way. Pete the Pirate going a little bit wide at the back there. I think just missing his braking point, obviously making sure that he doesn't hit anyone. Saying that, Havoc having another little off-ski there. I think he might have been trying to avoid his teammate. Can't see that he's missing any wing parts. I think we might be missing a brake marker. But luckily in Div 5, I don't think there's too many people that don't use a racing line, so it shouldn't affect us too much. But that gap at the front is dropped down again, so we're back down to about 5.2. And Crudor continuing to put in fastest lap, 33.353, has the gap down to Chef, down to 2.5 seconds now, although he does have that penalty. Let's have a quick look to see what penalties people have. So looking at the tyres as well. Baldy with 6, everybody else with just the 3-foot corner cutting. Okay, so going back, let's see. Havoc had an eventful race so far as they qualified second. Incident at the first corner that I didn't quite catch, but then I am very good at missing more action than I catch on camera. But yeah, dropping back to what was 14th place at the time and last. Worked his way up to 8th, obviously was a little bit higher a moment ago, having a small incident. Again, missing it. But going off track and collecting one of the marker boards. Doesn't have any damage, but did lose a place to Kieran. MBB now getting quite impatient, I think, behind Skipper, and so impatient that he's spun off. So, a nice safe rejoin there, which he has with nothing behind. So Havoc and Kieran moving up a position, as do the Hasses of Pete and Bowdy. So MBB doing really well there. Unfortunately losing it. Turn number 13, again one of those traction corners that if you get on it just a little bit too early, you'll see your ass swap round as quick as anything. But anyway, Havoc now doesn't have his teammate in his way, but still has Kieran in front of him. Kieran will now be the one to try and break Skipper, but I'm also just mindful of Crudor just further up the road. Has managed to get that gap down to just 2 seconds now. Obviously does have that time penalty which will hinder him, but the gap as well at the front now down to 4.5 seconds. So I just wonder if the tyres are starting to go off ever so slightly, and Phantom isn't perhaps dealing with them quite as well as Chef and Crudor. But still with a 4.5 second lead, it's pretty handy. I wouldn't say no to a 4.5 second lead myself. Coming round to complete. Yep, they're completing their 15th, so going on to lap number 16. I think Kieran looking to go for the move up the inside, and Connor looking to go for a move on the outside of him as well. So let's just keep an eye as to what's going on here. Havoc going a little bit wide there, but that's just to avoid any contact, and we are as you were. No changes, despite a little bit of excitement. Pete the Pirate has now closed right up onto the back of this train as well. Bit of a gap to his teammate Baldy, who himself has a small gap now to MBB. And there we have the move. Havoc Connor on the inside of turn number 5. Just getting a better drive out of it as well and taking that position. So Havoc Connor now up into 5th. Moving us from the front. Crudor. What happened to Crudor? Oh no, Crudor. Oh. Did he pit? He did pit, right, okay, that's good. Oh, I thought I might have missed an off-ski there, but Crudor has decided to come in, put a fresh set of wets on. Prize now doing exactly the same, had enough of those wet tyres. He comes in to put a fresh set on to take him to the end of the race. He's going to drop a few positions here, so needs to be hopeful that others are going to do the same. Prize has maintained his position ahead of Crudor, but is now behind Baldi. So it looks like we've got quite a few now coming into the pits. So let's put up. So everyone's going back onto the wet. So let's just put up the stops so we know who has and who has not stopped so far. Got Chef JB in the lead currently, hasn't stopped. Composite now into the pits. Prize going a little bit wide there, as we spoke earlier. Prize, patience. You know when there's a move that can be done and where it can be done. Good. Line it up. Well done. Good. There you go, sir. Easy overtake. So that is Prize back now up into 2nd, obviously with everybody else deciding to pit. So we're just going to wait for this to settle down so we know exactly what position people are in, see if anyone has made any gains or if there's been any huge losses. Oh, Kieran picking up another time penalty. So now we have everybody has stopped other than Chef JB in 1st, MBB in 4th, and Double Down in 11th hasn't stopped yet. The prize is not closing on Chef. I have to admit the gap was about 19, it's now out to 21, so Chef does seem to be extending that gap. I wonder if Prize is just trying a little bit too far, especially with the fact that Crudor now is only 2.2 seconds behind him. So he really has made a big gain out of the pit stops just by stopping 1 lap earlier than Prize Phantom. I think he's managed to pull himself a couple of seconds. Obviously traffic potentially being something that would have helped him there. Crudor 32.915. That is about half a second quicker than anybody else has managed so far. So he is really on it. Prize struggling, picking himself up a penalty there. So he is now trying a little bit too hard. I think he's looking at that gap behind him and panicking a bit. Just needs to settle into the same rhythm he had before the pit stops and he will be absolutely fine. He does have that gap down again to under 20 seconds to Chef. I don't know if Chef is going to stop this lap. Composite struggling somewhat as well, down in 12th place. Havoc making his way past Ralph there. I just want to see if Chef does come into the pits this time round. He doesn't. He's going to carry on. I wonder if Chef's going for a no-stopper. We will see. Right, anyway, let's get back to some battling going on further down. Obviously, Kieran, Skipper and Ralph Havoc Connor just ahead there. 13 seconds now behind his teammate, but his teammate hasn't stopped yet. So Havoc potentially in a net fourth place. Can't see him jumping Chef JB. That's going to be what, 30 odd seconds? No. Kieran going a little bit wide there, just getting a bit of a slapper on the painted surface. Skipper doing well again, been solid this year. I think he's 5th in the championship, 5th or 6th in the championship. Quite a steady season. So had a few bad results, not of his own making for most of them. But yeah, still, you know, pushing well in 6th place there, or in the championship, 7th place in today's race. Kieran looking at trying to take that away from him though. But let's keep an eye at the front here, because the interesting scenario now is that Prize Phantom is starting to chip into that lead of Chef in front of him. So I'm not sure if Chef is going for a no-stop or just wants some nice fresh tyres towards the end, feeling comfortable. That gap is starting to come down, and Crudor is only a second and a half back again with a 32.638, bettering his fastest lap and pretty much better. Who's got the next best fastest lap? I think Baldi with a 33.1. So yeah, half a second clear. Oh no, sorry, Prize 32.835. So these two pretty evenly matched on pace, other than a couple of tenths, but certainly the fastest men on the circuit at the moment. Kieran all over the back of Skipper there, got such a good drive out of that corner, but unfortunately Skipper didn't. Kieran had to come off throttle so as not to hit him, and has lost all the drive there, but looks up the inside, doesn't get the acceleration, and Skipper disappears up the road again for probably another lap. Peter Pirate picking up another penalty there. I think that's either 6 or 9 seconds for him now. We'll have a look. 9 for him. So Chef still refusing to pit. Prize chipping away that gap now down to under 17 seconds. But Crudor all over the back of Prize. So this could be good for Chef. If Prize and Crudor start fighting, they could well lose time to Chef. He could just give him enough. We'll see, but noticing Havoc has taken 4 seconds, I think, out of his teammate as well. Gap down to under 10 seconds now, was over 13 at one point. Again, Kieran getting probably the better drive, but there's Skipper picking up the traction just as it mattered there. again. Skipper taking the wide line. Kieran looking to go up the inside, but Skipper getting the much better traction and managed to keeping himself ahead. But right, let's jump back because Crudor is now within a second, or was within a second, of Prize Phantom. Could I have a quick cheat and see what their ERS is? I don't normally do it, but Prize Phantom hasn't been using any. Chef down to about 50% and Crudor they get about 40 odd %, so they are certainly looking after it. I mean, obviously the wet conditions you don't use as much, but it's good to know that Price has that should he need to defend. Get rid of that. Tyres, looking at lap old, so Chef JB's 22 lap old tyres. Skipper pick up a 3-second time penalty. Skipper, after it looking so good, he was sitting in 7th place, has gone off at turn number 2. And the approach at turn number 3, so that will drop him back to 10th, picking up a 10-second time penalty for corner cutting as well. Sure, that's him pretty pissed off, but okay, so gap at the front under 15 seconds now. Chef losing about a second a lap. 14 seconds. He could well pull these off. His tyres are going to be like crap at the end of this race, but he hasn't got to use them again, so it doesn't matter. And if he can do it and get himself a win out of this, all credit to him. But Crudor certainly having something to say about that, all over the back of Phantom now. A half a second gap there. The rest of the field now seem to have spread out pretty much, other than perhaps Pete, Baldy and Kieran battling away for 7th place. But we do have this battle for 2nd place, as I say, it's still closing on the leader at a rate of knots, but whether they could have enough time, I'm not 100% sure. I think it's going to be close. I mean, the gap's certainly tumbling now. Chef really starting to struggle with those tyres now, looking at his pace around this final corner. But nope, he's not coming in. Gap down to 12.8 now, so he's starting to lose more than a second a lap. So, a bit of a twitch there from Phantom. Is that going to allow Crudor? No, it doesn't. I thought it might have allowed Crudor to get onto the back of him, but I think Price gathered it up and mashed that ERS button as much as he possibly could. Crudor just looking to put a little bit of pressure on Price now, just to let him know we're here. So the Alpine certainly looks quicker than the Alfa Romeo at the current stage of the race, but Price might just be looking after his tyres a bit more. I don't think so. I think he's struggling just a little bit more in the conditions. Peter Pirate picking up another 3 seconds. I think that's 12 seconds now. Okay, so Crudor now. Who is that on the right? Ferraris. Kieran looking for a move on Baldi. He is all over the back of him. I notice Connor has closed that gap down to 2 seconds behind his teammate. So it was up at 13, 14 seconds at one point. So it just goes to show that he is faster. Just looking at the chat, asking if it doesn't have to stop. Yeah, if it's a wet race, you can use the same set of wet tyres for the complete race. You don't have to do a mandatory tyre stop. So yes, he can start on the wets and finish on the wets. It's very brave, but yes. Still trying to get past Baldi. I think he might have just done it here, although I don't think Baldi's going to give it. Yeah, apologies there. Looks like we had a bit of a technical difficulties with my streaming platform, but we are back now. Crudor just dropping out of that second window now. I know it's not essential, there's no DRS in the wet, but I think Pry's just getting a little bit more comfortable. That gap down to 8.2 seconds, 5.5 laps to go. Oh, I wish we could see tyres. I bet chefs must be absolutely screaming. 7.9 seconds now, the gap. Oh, and Havoc did get past his teammate. Don't know if he finally let him past or whether it was just a matter of he was quicker but already pulling out nearly a 2-second lead on him there. Kieran still not giving up, trying to get past Baldi either. So there's been some good individual sort of battles going on within this race. Obviously, I mean, not so much for the lead, although potentially, I'd say with 5 laps to go, we could see that happening. But there's certainly been good battles for sort of second and third and fourth, and then sort of all the way down. We've had some. It was pretty close up to about sort of 8-9 laps ago, and now the gaps have pulled right out. Kieran very, very close to the back of Baldi there, nearly making contact. At the front, oh, who was that? That's off MBB. I thought it was going in the wrong direction then. So MBB just going to lose a place to Ralph there. So not too bad in the end with that spin, just losing the 1 place. Crudor keeping that gap now to about the second. So he's certainly not given up on getting past Price. And Price, I don't think has given up on the win yet. 6.9 seconds. Seconds. I'll be honest, I really hope this works for Chef, because that is a absolute ballsy decision to make. His tyres must be like driving on blooming ice at the moment, but if he can manage to do this, I have seen it happen before. I can't remember who it was. It was in another league. I think it was a guy called Magic Boot Cannon. I think did literally the whole of a race on a set of inters, and unfortunately I think it was the last lap of the race they went off so badly that he ended up losing about 4 or 5 positions. But yeah, it was very, very close to a very gutsy decision. But looking here, Chef is only now losing a couple of tenths to half a second a lap, so we certainly do seem to be equalising on tyre performance. But it's just how far chefs are. We certainly don't want to see him with a puncture in the last couple of laps. Is Kieran finally going to make that move on Baldi? Not if Baldi has anything to do with it. Crew door closing. Oh dear, yeah. Trying just a little bit too hard, ended up turning in too early. So that gap is going to increase now. And he's got it all to do again with 4 laps, including the one that we are on. Are we going to see second and third closing on first? Are we going to see Chef JB pull off a master stroke and do the no stop in the wet conditions? Havoc recovering superbly into 4th place, had an event-filled race right the way from the first corner to contact with his teammate, to being blocked by his teammate. Yeah, I think it's all happened to him, so I think he would be more than happy if you'd have offered him 4th place at the end of the first lap. But a good recovery drive from him there. Closing up ever so slightly again here, I've noticed, with Baldi on the back of MBB now. So MBB certainly, I think, lost his rhythm since the spin. He lost a couple of places, obviously on the spin, lost it to Ralph, and since then been overtaken by Peter Pirate as well. I think Baldi doing all he can to get past him as quick as he can as well. But all pretty close there, but let's get back to this battle for second place. The gap at the front down to 3.6 seconds now, so that has really tumbled, I think, Chef. I mean, at worst, if they drop off a cliff, he's going to be 3rd, but it's sickening when you are potentially that close to pulling something off. But it's not over yet, but the gap is tumbling down with 2.6 seconds now. So Kudor and Bryce both have their eyes set on the win, but they will need to obviously get past Chef and pull out a 3-second gap as well. So it's not just about closing the gap that they've got at the moment and getting past. They then need to pull out a 3-second lead, otherwise Chef is still going to take the win because he doesn't currently have any penalties. Gap now under 2 seconds. I think Chef's tyres have absolutely fallen off a cliff. 1.5, 1.4. No, you've not got bad traction out of that corner. But I think, unfortunately, we're going to see I think we're going to see a change for the lead. We are now on the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix. Chef going a little bit wide there. I think obviously struggling on those tyres now. Oh, if only the Grand Prix was 1 or 2 laps shorter, it would have been an absolute master stroke. Oh, but oh, Prize, what are you doing? I think Price trying just a little bit too hard there, getting on the throttle a little bit early, coming out of that corner, getting a tank slapper on. Obviously that is going to help Chef in first place, although Crudor now up into second will put him under pressure, and we know that Crudor has pace. But as we said, not only does he have to get past him, he has to pull out a 3-second lead to still take the win. We have an inter-runner. Double has taken a gamble and come out on the intermediates. probably still too many puddles out there, to be honest, to go on the intermediates, but it might just be at the crossover stage. But the rain seems to have got heavier, if anything, rather than lighter. So here we are entering the final lap of the race. Chef JB leading across onto lap number 33. Manages to keep it in there, runs out wide, but still within. Prize now 8 seconds back. Jesus Christ, what happened to you? You were so on it. I think that's probably maybe a one little mistake, and it can do it, but never mind. So back at the front anyway. So Crudor is still on the back of Chef. I think Chef is going to hold on for the win here unless something happens in the last couple of corners, but I'm hoping Crudor, well, he's not going to get past him and pull out a 3-second lead now unless there is any form of contact, which hopefully there won't be. But anyway, Chef JB, what a masterstroke from him, deciding to go on the no-stop strategy. His tyres, Chef, afterwards please tell me what percentage your tyres were on, because I really would like to know. But Chef coming across now to win. Yep, to win the Portuguese Grand Prix. I didn't know if Crudor was just going to overtake him there. Prize coming across to take 3rd place. I'd like to see that not happen, Prize, because look what happens afterwards. Havoc Connor coming home in 4th place after so a bit of an incident stream race for him. Ralph Albers coming home in 5th, so good points for Ralph and the Red Bull team. The Pirate coming home in 6th, pending penalties. We'll just wait for, Kieran drops. So MBB in 6th, Kieran Trollface in 7th, BB Baldy in 8th, 9th, Pete the Pirate. Skipper in 10th, in 11th is Composite, and 12th will be Double. I think he's struggling a bit on those inters for the last lap, but it was worth a go if you've got nothing else to play for. But that brings to a close the Portuguese Grand Prix, and what a wet one it was too. So I do feel sorry for Division number 5. They do seem to have their fair share of wet weather races. MBB there getting driver of the day according to the computer. So obviously made up the most positions in the race. That's normally how it gauges that. Oh, and look, we've got a dry podium. It's absolutely poured down for the whole race, and the podium is bone dry. Super. So there we are, and I have to say, Chef JB, I take my hat off to you. That was a massive gamble and a complete and utter masterstroke. Chef, you are my driver of the day. So I think that was a very, very ballsy decision. Drove a really good race, coming from 3rd on the grid. So he, Chef JB, will be not only the race winner, but my driver of the day. So Chef JB coming home in 1st, Crudor taking 2nd in the Alpine, in 3rd, Prize Phantom could and probably should have had the win. Trying just a little bit hard, I think, on the penultimate lap, losing a few positions. Havoc Connor recovering to 4th, good drive by him. 5th, Ralph Albers, MBB coming home 6th. 7th is Kieran. 8th, BV Baldy. 9th, Pete the Pirate. 10th, Skipper. 11th, Composite. 12th, Double. 13th, Dr. Scenic was the second non-finisher, and Jurek was the first non-finisher, unfortunately crashing, coming out of the final turn and catapulting right into the wall. Okay, so that brings to a close round number 9, the Portuguese Grand Prix Division 5, and the end of round number 9 race week for DTR. We'll be back next week, as always, on Tuesday with Divisions 1 and Divisions 3, on Wednesday with Divisions 2 and 4, and I'll be back here with this fantastic bunch of Division 5 at the same time next week. So for myself, Del Boy, I wish you a good evening and I hope you have a good week, and I look forward to commentating again for you next week. So thanks for listening, everyone. Have a good evening. Take care.